Hello, I'm Ben from Mumford and Sons and you're watching Roland Boss TV.
Ben, thank you very much for talking to us today. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Back off the tour.
Yeah.
It seems to have been going on for quite a while. How long have you been away?
We've been away for kind of like 3 years, but this last tour properly was about a year, starting in January.
Okay, and it's just been crazy.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been really good fun. I did a phone interview with these guys in Australia at Triple J yesterday actually, and they were like, "So what have you been up to since January?" So, how the hell do you answer that question?
Where do you want to start?
Yeah, seriously. It's been non-stop, but...
Looking back for you, highlights?
Glastonbury was massive. And I mean, it's mostly been shows because it's just been a long, big touring cycle for us. But I think probably a moment when we weren't on stage as such was in Belgium. It was my birthday and we were on tour with Old Crow Medicine Show from the States and Nathaniel Rateliff, and we were just sitting around having dinner. It was like 6 in the evening before the show, and they just turned up with all their string instruments and just stood around and sung like a bluegrass version of Happy Birthday.
Wow.
It was awesome. And I was like, normally you get really embarrassed when people sing you Happy Birthday like that, but I was just like, it was like
Again.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, it's like, hands up, you know.
Not many people can say they've had that.
No.
So, talking a little bit about equipment, now we know you've been using the FR-7 accordion on the tour,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about later, but you've just been trying out the V-Piano.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's amazing. I think it's a genius piece of engineering. I was playing it the other night because I still live at home with my parents, and my dad walked in and he was like, "Why have we got a piano downstairs when this sounds better than the piano that we've got?" And we've got this amazing piano. I've been playing piano for 18 years, and we've got a Bechstein in the family home, which is a beautiful piano, but it's got its limitations, as with all these things, you know. Like, I think that when you start getting more and more discerning, some people build up like a vast range of vintage instruments for each individual sound that they feel like playing that day, but some people can't afford that, or can't just like they just don't have that option or the space or whatever. So what I found with the V-Piano and the accordion is that you can adapt to like the situation with the sound. And, like, I've been doing some demos with this, and sometimes you want like that bright, attacky sort of piano, and then sometimes you want the mellow, subdued, like slightly bigger sound. It's not so much like, it's not the obvious like honky-tonk setting or like the grand piano setting. It's those slight differences that it's really good at.
Sure. And you were talking about a feature you quite like on the piano that you're using at the moment.
Yeah, which is this one. It's the impactance, because that's what I've always said. Whenever we're messing around with our sounds on stage, I always try to go for a sound that has like that bite, but isn't bright, and this like has that. Because it's really important to be able to hear like the definition of the rhythm as well, especially with the Mumford and Sons. Like, when there's so much going on with like the banjo and the guitar rhythmically, I sometimes struggle to hear something, and like in sound checks would always be like, you can just hear that. That you wouldn't normally get off a keyboard, basically. You do things on this that you wouldn't be able to do on a keyboard, and recording a piano is a nightmare, and finding the right piano to record is a nightmare. So I've certainly been enjoying demoing more with this than I ever have before when it comes to writing for the band, or, you know, with other people. I kind of wish I had had this. I just did that track, Your Song with Dirty Building, and I didn't have this back then.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I'd had it for that.
Sure.
For that recording session, because it would have. I spent so much of the day trying to get the piano sound right, and this one setting would have just been that's all I was trying to get it to sound like.
Sure. Dial it straight in.
Yeah.
So going back to the accordion, what was it that attracted you to that in the first place?
Accordion playing live is a nightmare. Anyone who plays accordion will know that. Just because of feedback, and I was never really an accordion player, and I'm still not in any way a virtuoso accordion player. I hope to be one day, but I'm far from it right now. I only learnt accordion because we did this River Rat Pack tour a couple of years back, where we toured on a boat where you couldn't have either a piano or a keyboard, and so accordion was the next option for me to be able to play the parts and jam with people on the boat. So I had this tiny little, no, it wasn't that, it was about that big, little acoustic accordion. And then we did some gigs, and we wrote Winter Winds on, and a completely acoustic setup, where we were away from a piano at the time, and I just picked up the accordion and played my part on that, and then it stuck. And then playing live, you just can't mic it effectively, and it never sounds as rich as it does acoustically. Whereas with this accordion, I've definitely found that it should have seen our sound engineer is called Chris Pollard, and his reaction when I first plugged this in. I can't remember. I think it might have been Shepherd's Bush. Yeah, that was the first gig with it. Shepherd's Bush Empire, and put it through the PA, and he was like, "That thing is completely ridiculous. How why haven't we thought of?" Because we spent hours and hours and hours talking about how we were going to make an accordion work live, and it just solved all the problems straight away. It's about finding the sound that fits within the band.
Sure.
So within Winter Winds, I use this ballroom setting because just the tone of it, it's really tone when it comes to accordions, the difference in how they cut through. But this for whatever reason, this tone fits the best with it. It's a full, slightly aggressive accordion sound.
Sure.
As opposed to, it's got lots of different. Sometimes we do Sister, one of our old songs acoustically, and then I change the sound to what they call on this thing Band's Neon.
Sure.
And it sounds just acoustically, I think it sounds even more authentic. It's like the most authentic sounding because we unplug everything and the speakers inside are great.
Sure.
Because you can adjust depending on the room, like how loud you need it to be to balance with the other instruments and the people around you. So I've been messing around with the to get the ambience right, and you can change it to these different and it's like dry. But what I normally like to do is to go to the longest reverbs, like the Hall 3, and then just take the amount that comes through it down, so it's long and subtle. And then for a song like Dust Bowl Dance, I'd want there's like 3 options here, like tuning, hammer and resonance. And I mess around with, like, if you increase the presence of the hammer, mess with the tuning, and you've got this slightly kind of more old-timey feel, because that's what naturally happens, the sort of the degrading of the tuning of pianos. And increasing the resonance does the same thing.
Sure.
As the wood expands. And this is the other really cool thing about it, was that it's got this equalizer, so you can, just by clicking a button, turn on an EQ setting.
Sure.
So if you go, what I would do is like crank the high mid. But I wouldn't put it on the verses.
So you can just click straight into that.
Yeah, exactly. So when everything kicks off, like for us, is when, in this song in particular, like when Marcus goes to drumsticks and Winston's on electric guitar, this sound doesn't cut through those electric instruments anymore. So click it onto, so you're going from that. It just gives it that lift. It's like a booster pedal, but it's boosting it within the sort of parameters that have been built into the keyboard and through the EQ. So it's not just like, oh right, it's just a louder version of that piano. It's like it cuts through it. Like basically how we did it when we made the records, how we did it on the piano when we did it. We just like boosted that part of the EQ.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Can you play a little bit more of that?
Yeah.
God bless you, Ben.
The young man stands on the edge of his porch. The days were